he has a hard time telling people no.
No, it has to be done your way. When I'm like, all right, we can achieve this thing, but hey, we're not thinking about X, Y, and Z. And it's like,
Hello, and welcome to another episode of We Almost Have It All Together. I am one of your hosts, Tiffany Hinkle, and this is my co-host,
Charlie Hinkle.
We have been married 18 years and decided to start this podcast on family, friends, and relationships, marriage, and we're glad to have you stop by. Today we have a pretty good episode planned for you. We are going to be talking about personalities. During the pandemic, we became very in tune with these different personality tests. We've taken several tests, through marriage counseling, as we've gone through the military and with our churches. So we thought we'd talk about those today. But before we jump into it, one thing that I wanted to ask you, babe, was what do you think about people's core personalities? Do they stay the same for the most part, or do you think people's personalities change over time?
I think people's personalities, who they are at the core, will stay the same unless it's something that needs to be fine-tuned and adjusted. Obviously, you grow, mature, and you get wise. I mean, we have teenage girls, and we've seen them grow up, right?
Right.
They're maturing, but their personalities, they're pretty much still the same. They now have wisdom and knowledge, but what they're going to do, you can pretty much tell who does what in the house.
Yep.
Right? Based off the typical habits and things they do. Now, habits and all that can be improved, not necessarily personality, but it is like a trait or a pattern of like innately who they are, right? So I think it adjusts and it grows with wisdom, but the core, as you stated, I think the core of your personality, it is who you is innately who God made you, right?
Exactly. And I would agree with that, just thinking about how I was growing up.
One of one.
Yep,
Right.
one of one. That everybody is unique in their own way. Of course, we all have things that we can work on, some character traits that may not be the best, but for the most part, the key things, the things that aren't problematic, those tend to be the same from when you're a kid to as you grow up. And as you mentioned, a lot of our personality is shaped with things that we experience, with things that we learn. So while they may be fine-tuned, I guess, as you get older, the base personality, I think, tends to stay the same.
Tends to stay the same.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear if anybody disagrees with that, but I think I agree with you on that one. Yep. So, okay. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about the first personality test that we're going to get into. So this one is the enneagram. And if you haven't heard of it, the enneagram is a system of personalities that describes people in terms of like 9 different types. And so the different types are the perfectionist, the giver, the achiever, the individualist, the investigator, the skeptic, the enthusiast, the challenger, and the peacemaker. And each of these personalities, if you're looking in the personality, the enneagram details, they always define like what's the core motivation, what's the core fear, and what's the core internal dynamic of each personality type. So we both took the test.
Oh yeah, we took
and
it.
So we're going to share what our results were. So I will share mine first.
Okay.
So my enneagram personality type is a type 3, which is the achiever. And just a brief overview is achievers are success-oriented and extremely driven. They're motivated by their constant need to be successful. And some of their faults is that they feel like their worth lies in what they can do and what they accomplish rather than who they are.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with that because just growing up, I was always pushed to, make straight A's, always high achieve, which I appreciate now looking back. But I think part of that and my willingness to, I want to achieve those goals. And so it kind of helped drive me. And I think that I'm still that way today, which is a good thing. But on the flip side, it could be seen as a not the best type to have because then I'm always on the go, right? I'm always pushing. And no, I think it's good. It is. I do have to be mindful to tell myself it's okay to slow down. It's okay to not achieve. And if I am achieving, make sure I'm achieving at the right things. So yeah, so I was not surprised when I got that personality type. What about you? Which one were you?
I am a type 2, the helper, as the name suggests. Type 2s are always there to lend a hand and act as a support system for families and friends. They are motivated by their need to be loved and needed at all time, right? So you want to be needed, you want to be loved. They really want to be liked and have strong fear of being disliked by others. So they will do anything to ensure that they fit in. They tend to ignore their own boundaries for the sake of others.
So what did you think when you got your results back?
I mean, it's true. You know, I wouldn't say I need to fit in. I would say I'm adaptable to in the situation. I wouldn't say fit. I'm not about to go rob a bank because somebody I want to fit in with a crew of
Right.
people to rob a bank or something like that. And people annoy me, so I'm very much a loner. But generally, I like to help people. Yeah, I would say it fits in
You think it
with
fits?
who I am. I'm generally a caregiver and want to help people, and even people that annoy me, I help them anyway. But
Yeah. And I think it's good. It's one thing that I also want us to talk about is, why it's important to understand your partner's personality or anybody you may be working with, family members. It's important to understand who they are so that you can help manage conflict. You can know how kind of better understand how they're thinking, what perspective they're coming from when they're, when different situations arise. So when it comes to our personalities, what do you think? How do you think our personalities complement each other, kind of work well together? And then where do you think our personalities clash when it comes to me being the achiever versus you being the helper?
I think both can be perceived on both sides. Me helping someone and Nada helping you achieve something or acknowledging. And we're gonna get more into like love languages and things of that nature when we get words of affirmation and different things of that nature, which is gonna tie in very well. I think achiever wants to be propped up and don't want anyone to hinder them from their achievements. Where I I don't beg for attention or need a whole bunch of attention, but I want to be acknowledged. And then my helping others can take away from like the presence of your achievements or the acknowledgement of your achievements in a sense because I'm helping someone, right? So or being a helper, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm helping someone, but it could be seen. And then as far as hindering my lack of boundaries, as it's stated, right?
Yep.
I can tend to like blow past them, so I can be propping you up with all this achievement while leaving my tank empty.
Right.
Because I'm helping, right? So I'm a helper, so I can be doing all this stuff while also neglecting myself or neglecting my needs. Or we'll get into love languages in a moment, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I would say, kind of talking more on the clash. I think you're right. The compliment, because I'm the person. I always have a new idea. I always want to try something different. I'm just that type of person, and Charlie has always been there to support. And I think that's great that we are together in that sense because, like, I need that achievement, even though sometimes I might get overwhelmed. Just having somebody there to kind of support, even if it doesn't go all the way through, but still, supporting is definitely appreciated. But I think where my achievement can probably clash with your helping is sometimes when I'm trying to go too much to where it prevents you from maybe doing some of the things that you might want to, like you said, like that you might want to do, or not really overshadow, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm so much in the forefront that like you said, it's neglected. And maybe we can get more into that when we get to the other tests. Did you have anything to add to that?
The only other thing I'll add is we're also flipped, right? Because I'm very much of an achiever as well, in a sense.
For different reasons.
For different reasons. So we're backwards, but sometimes I want to help and I can't be a helper because you're so high powered to achieve. It has to be done your way. When I'm like, all right, we can achieve this thing, but hey, we're not thinking about X, Y, and Z. And it's like your achievement is like, or I have an idea and I'm going to get to it, or the ideal is brewing, right? Give me a chance to think this thing over. And you're like, all right, no.
Let's go. Let's make a decision.
It's
I can
brewing.
see that.
It's coming out. And wait a minute, it's coming.
Yeah, that's funny.
So how do you what would you say what would you say a time where you can kind of see that play out? My
Um,
helpfulness.
your
Did you see
helpfulness?
that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just gave an example with, the stuff that I want to do. I'd say another example would just probably for me in like a not really a negative, but like um things I wouldn't do is like you're super helpful and like we'll go to a restaurant and you're the type of person who will, clean up a table, put everything nice and neat before we leave, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Um but yeah, that's where I won't go. Or you'll help so much to where you'll neglect, and maybe that's what you said with me, but I see it with like, you know, other people, friends. He has a hard time telling people no.
No is my
Saying
word for
no.
2024.
Like he does
No
not
is my
say
word for
no. So he
2024.
wants to help, he wants to please so much that he doesn't have the boundary and cannot say no. I'm like, why didn't you just say no? Like, you're not going to be able to do that. Just say no. Like, don't try to force yourself. It's not going to happen. Just say no. So yeah, I think that's where I see it the most for sure.
Yeah, obviously I see it play out. Just the beauty of like our life story and
Mm-hmm.
going to college, me being in the military, no real online school, all the stuff that we went through with the military moves, bouncing back and forth, and you trying to do online schooling when there was really no such thing as real
Yeah.
online till Phoenix came
Yeah, it was
around. And
like
yeah,
just coming out.
just coming
Mm-hmm.
out. And, you know, to see you behind a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Technically behind a year and still graduate
Yeah.
college in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only graduate college in 3 years, finish your master's within 5, as well as get your CPA within that same like 6 year time frame.
Yeah.
Where, you know, most of our peers were still, hell, I didn't have no degree by then. I mean, obviously I was in the military. It didn't require
Yeah.
me to have no degree.
Mm-hmm.
But, you
Yeah,
know,
it
a
was
lot of
very
our peers
driven.
were really changing like different career courses, didn't even have all the, you know, burdens of having a child. Now
Mm-hmm.
two kids by the time you graduated with your bachelor's. We had 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I can see that achiever throughout that entire process. And obviously, we've been married for 18 years,
Yeah.
so or
So
going on 18 years. So
right.
I've
We've
seen
seen a
that
lot.
a lot.
Seen a lot.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. What's next, babe? Do you want to talk
So
about strength finders?
yeah, so we hop into strength finders, which I think kind of will tie. I think all three tie in actually. So strength finders. We're gonna hop into the strength finders. These are 34 strengths and 4 themes. Uh, you can have
The strategic thinking,
yeah,
there's relationship
building,
building, influencing.
influencing, and then executing.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So you want to hop into your top 5 first?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this test is that a lot of corporate businesses use
Mm-hmm.
this particular test. I think mainly just to see how,
Talent
yeah,
DNA and
talent,
kind
yeah,
of see how to pair teams and how
right,
to
how to
work.
best do your
Yeah.
team. So my top five were futuristic, relator, analytical, significance, and restorative. And if I recall, my main themes were in the strategic thinking and relationship building categories. That's where most of my themes are. What were your top five?
Positivity, developer,
Mm-hmm.
relator, arranger, and activator.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, trying to
I
think.
can't remember what theme mine was in, to be honest.
Oh, you can't. Let's see.
No,
Positivity
no.
developer. I would probably relationship building because positivity developer and relator all have to do with how you're interacting with others. So
Mm.
yours are probably more relationship
And
building.
that would
Would make sense with
go
the
in with
helper.
help.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So which one of your strengths kind of still, which one resonates with you the most? Like for me, out of my five, the one that resonates the most is, oh, it's so hard. I'm gonna say two.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be significance, which means I want to make a big impact, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's true. I like to be. It's funny. I like to be in the forefront. I like to make a difference. I like to feel like my presence is valued. But sometimes I do tend to shrink in certain situations, like if a personality is too big, and maybe it's different from like a personality, people who have big, exuberant, extroverted personalities. I tend to shrink in some instances, but maybe that's a little bit different. I don't know. That resonates with me though, because I'm just like, I know that I want to be this out there person. But why do I tend to retract when there's other larger energies there instead of just joining it? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So that was one. And then the next one that stood out to me was the futuristic. And that one is basically being a visionary, inspired about what could be. So I always am like, I have tons of ideas, right? And I can see where things are going to happen. If you give me some situation, I can tell you like 5 different ways that situation is going to play out. Now, one thing that I do have a problem with is executing those visions and that futuristic. But yeah, those are the 2 that resonates with me the most with my strengths. What about yours?
I mean, I think they're all spot on. The most. So, did you take this once or twice? Like, this is your only time taking
No,
it?
I've taken it twice, and I think I've taken it twice, and the results are pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So, this is my second time. I had to take it for my MBA that I'm in right now.
Okay.
And it changed. Like, most of the top 10 is the top 10.
Yeah. But the order.
The order slightly changed. So, Believer was like one of my big things because, like, morally, like, I have this internal moral clock. Like, you could base it off faith or whatever, but then I have the Charlie's moral rules. And if you break those, right, it takes you a long time to get back in my grip. This is very hypocritical. Don't get me wrong. I know it's very, very hypocritical. But so I was shocked to see that had moved, and it moved into positivity. But then I realized at the time I took this test where I was at work and where I had to shift to was more of I had to be more positive. Not that positivity wasn't not that positivity wasn't in my top 10 to begin with. It's just it wasn't even in the top 5. It was like 7 or 8 before.
Wow. Okay.
And so now it leaped all the way to number one. And that's because I have to have that neutrality.
And describe positivity.
So positivity is help others see the humor and positive side of life. Right. And I'm always a funny person anyway. Yeah. Optimistic, but it's like I've been not necessarily funny, but I've been making light at work because there's a lot of different stuff, whether, that's key moves that are happening, a lot of things that can stress people out, especially in a climate where you have a lot of layoffs. My company's not doing a lot, but like I'm in the technical field and a lot of my team is seeing that upwards movement
is hard.
It's hard, right? Hence, like I was in a position where I was going for a position and I didn't get it, right?
Right.
And I had to maintain positive because it was a position that was above me.
Right.
So it wasn't like I can go somewhere else. It's like, no, I have a new manager now. I knew him, but he wasn't in my department, so to speak. So it was building that relationship and then understanding, hey, can't let the team fail.
Right.
And there's other things that's going on. I got to stay positive and keep moving. I still got a job, right?
Yeah, you look at the
positivity and the light.
Don't focus on the negative when there's so many positives.
It'll drown you. And I was getting drained, right? I was like,
it can drain you.
Bogged down. But that, and then if an activator, I would say, I don't know if when I think about, I can execute. Like I guess if you compare a lot of times you think something and I can help you execute it, but I think stuff I'm not really gonna put it out there is more mine stay dormant or whatever. So activator, being the catalyst when others are stuck, make a decision and get going. Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and hey, let's do X, Y, and Z. And we're moving forward, right? I ain't doing no analytical nothing. I'm gonna think real fast. Like, all right, what's the situation? I'm gonna think practical. All right, hey, this is a simple solution, man. You can do one of 3 things. The choice is yours.
So how do you see either like that positivity or the activator playing out in our marriage? Do you see where you've been able to use those?
I mean, generally I'm more positive. I don't really worry about a lot of stuff, right?
No,
I'm like,
yeah, that's true.
whatever.
I'm the
And then,
worrier. Not
yeah,
worrier, but I'm an overthinker. Analytical is one of my strengths.
mm-hmm,
So I think about a lot of things and that can turn into thinking about also the negative things
yeah.
that could happen. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you definitely try to focus on the positive.
Activator, I'm ready to make a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to. It's opposite when you ready. Independent on the situation, like when there's decisions need to be made, I'm ready to
Mm-hmm.
kind of make it. But sometimes I think too simplistic,
Yeah.
where it needs to have way more thought, or like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know something, and it's like, well, on the outside looking in, you just do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And
Let's
then
go.
I'm always the one where it's
like,
like, well, did you consider this? Did you consider that? This could go wrong. That could, we could fall here. So yeah.
all right, yeah. So after hearing my strengths, which one do you see played out the most in our relationship?
Yeah, I think it's the ones that we just kind of talked about. It's
Yeah.
the activator, helping to make the decision, even though I'm putting
Mm-hmm.
my analytical spin on it, and then also the positivity and kind of tamping my uh overthinking, over worrying, focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the negative things that could go wrong, just trying to bring it back to the positive. So yeah, I definitely see those. But yeah, let's jump into the
Real
love
free.
languages because
Yeah.
I definitely want to hit that before we get to the end of the
Okay.
podcast. So the
Gotcha.
five love languages is developed by Gary Chapman. And I think this is used in a lot of marriage counselors, marriage
Mm-hmm.
retreats. We've taken it a couple of times and we took it again recently. And so there are five love language types, and they are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
Yeah.
So one thing that I noticed about my results is that they have definitely changed because I think we
Mm-hmm.
took it maybe 1 or 2 years into our marriage and then we recently took it again. And mine have definitely moved around. But if you've got yours, why don't you start with going through what are maybe say what your top love language was, and then let's just maybe you just share what the order is
All
now.
right. So my top love language was physical touch, and now it is quality time. I have a tie with words of affirmation and physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes to uh, acts of services, and then receiving gifts.
Okay. And mine, so before my main love language was words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
but now it is acts of service, then quality time, then physical touch, then words of affirmation, and then last is receiving gifts. So, did anything surprise you when you retook the test as far as like how your love languages are now?
Uh, yeah, the quality time, right? And I think it all comes into play. I'll keep it brief. Quality time comes from being separated in the military, so
Mm-hmm.
that's has changed. Words of affirmations because we're separated. I didn't always get those words of affirmation. I didn't get a whole lot of. I got it, but I didn't get a lot of
Yeah,
physical
it sound like
presence
yeah, because
coming
we
up
were in two
as a
different
kid.
places.
Yeah, not only
Mm-hmm.
that, but coming up as a kid, I didn't get a lot of um,
Right.
the
Time. Yeah.
presence and words of affirmation because mom worked a lot and then she couldn't make all my events and stuff. And
Right.
then physical touch being 3 was a surprise.
Yeah.
And outside of that, everything else is still the
Why
same.
you think? Why did that surprise you? It being three, just because.
But no, I mean I think people change. There's a new you every year. You have to
Mm-hmm.
learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean physical touch as a young
Yeah.
20-year-old, it's different, right?
Yeah.
But
Right. It's
physical
different when
touch
you get
isn't
older.
just sexual activities, it's
Right.
intimacy. So as you go through marriage, you grow.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new you every year
Yeah.
that I have to learn. There's a new me every year that you have to
Mm-hmm.
learn. And it's just like our relationship with God. Like you didn't just get saved and say, all right, cool. What I do? No, it's a continuing building. New revelations are made uh,
Mm-hmm.
in your relationship with God, and God built marriage off His relationship with the
Yeah.
church. So it all makes sense that in our relationship, we'll be building and continuing to learn each other, and some of these things will move around and change.
Right. Yeah. Physical touch is my third one too. And it's a surprise to me because I think it was last for the
Mm-hmm.
first time I took it. But like you said, I think, as we've matured and grown, like I do want to be near you and want to be close to you. And I think that is a interesting move in that now we're kind of in the same spot with it being third. And I think acts of service being number one isn't really a surprise to me in this stage of my life,
Mm-hmm.
just because, we've got a lot going on, and, with two teens and multiple activities and trying to keep up with everything, and church and, work and everything going on, like
Yeah.
those acts of service that you do, like particularly he just the other day, he reorganized the closet, and although I was like, why are you doing this right now? Like, now that I'm looking back on it, I was like, wow, yeah, that really was an act of service that I appreciate. And it's definitely easier to, to navigate and move around in that thing. So it's, the things that are done to help make my plate a little bit
Mm-hmm.
easier, just take something off is definitely appreciated for sure.
Yep. And I think it's important. I think right now we're in a mood where we're close to empty nesters, right? We've been married almost 18 years. We'll have our first one out next year,
I know.
2025.
That's crazy.
And then our last one out, 2027.
Yeah.
So we have to learn each other and get deep into these things and figure each other out. Because if we don't, then we're just gonna be left stuck at each other trying to do it. And we've gotten some help when our oldest started learning how to drive. She's able to do practice and stuff. The youngest is about to start learning how to drive, so that kind of frees up some time. And we have teens, right? So it's a lot different than if we had little kids right now.
When they
We're
were
thinking,
younger, it was a lot, a little more challenging for sure.
very more challenging. So I think as we grow and we continue to love, like it's very important, or continue to learn one another. It's like gonna be even more difficult, or not difficult, different,
yeah. It's
when
just different environment
when they're out, when we're empty nesters. So that's a whole new you I got to learn.
Yep.
A whole new me.
We're gonna need to retake this test to see where we stand, because it's important to know, and it's actually not a bad thing to take it periodically. So now I can keep front of mind. Okay, Charlie wants quality time. He needs to hear those words, and he needs that physical touch, and just continue to remind myself that, okay, I need to focus on those things to make sure that he feels loved in the way that he is being loved, in the way that he best receives love, and vice versa, that he can, be mindful of mine too, so that we can make sure we're being true to each other, and making sure that we're keeping each other happy.
Oh yeah.
And loved. Yep.
All types of love.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add? I love talking about personalities. I just find them so fascinating, and just learning about myself. It makes you more emotionally intelligent, and it definitely helps you stay in tune with each other, with your partner, and any relationship you have.
No, I think I got a Bible class I'm about to start with the church.
Okay.
It's on communication and relationship building, and like one of their slogans is you know everyone communicates, but can you connect? And that's where I'm at. It's like, hey, I know I'm about to be an empty nester. I know I can communicate. I know I can build these bonds, but I also know that I can get frustrated. Like I said, people make me irritated. Like I get frustrated fast, and being able to understand how to properly connect with somebody. So I'm not getting frustrated, really getting to know someone. And I just think if you have opportunity, continue to improve in those areas will help.
All right. So that sounds good. Well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for stopping by. And until next time, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
See you. One.